Imagine if one general led his army into a huge land full of warriors, and after a few years, that entire land was under his control. That sounds like something from a movie, but it really happened more than 2,000 years ago. The general was Julius Caesar, and the land was called Gaul, which today includes places like France, Belgium, and parts of Switzerland. But here's the surprising part. Caesar didn't start the war only because he wanted to help Rome. He also needed money, fame, and loyal soldiers. Without those things, his political career in Rome might have ended. And by the end of this story, you'll see how one long war turned Caesar from a struggling politician into one of the most powerful men in history. Before the war in Gaul began, Julius Caesar had a big problem. He was very popular with the people of Rome, but he had spent huge amounts of money trying to win elections and gain support. In fact, he owed so much money that if he lost power, he could have been ruined. Then Caesar became the Roman governor of several provinces near Gaul in 58 BC. Governors controlled armies and had the power to lead military campaigns. For Caesar, this was the perfect opportunity. Gaul was a massive region filled with many tribes. These tribes were not united under one king. Instead, each tribe had its own leaders, warriors, and traditions. Some tribes were friendly with Rome, but many were not. Caesar realized something important. If he could defeat these tribes and bring Gaul under Roman control, he could gain enormous wealth and fame. But he needed a reason to start fighting. Soon, that reason appeared. A tribe called the Helvetii decided to leave their homeland and move across Gaul. Thousands of people began traveling with wagons, animals, and families. Caesar claimed that this migration might threaten Roman lands. So he stepped in. The Roman army blocked their path and forced the Helvetii into battle. The Roman legions defeated them and forced the survivors to return home. This victory gave Caesar the excuse he needed to continue his campaign deeper into Gaul. But winning battles in Gaul would not be easy. The people of Gaul were known as fierce warriors. They fought with long swords, spears, and shields, and many tribes were famous for their bravery in battle. However, the Roman army had a huge advantage. Roman soldiers were extremely disciplined and highly trained. They practiced fighting constantly and followed strict commands from their officers. Each major unit of the Roman army was called a legion, and a legion usually had around 5,000 soldiers. These soldiers fought together in tight formations, protecting each other with large shields while attacking with short swords called gladius. But the Roman army had another special skill that made them even stronger. They were incredible builders. Roman soldiers could build bridges across rivers, walls around camps, and siege machines used to attack cities. Every single night, no matter where they were, Roman soldiers built a fortified camp to protect themselves while they slept. Because of their training and teamwork, Roman legions were one of the most powerful military forces of the ancient world. As Caesar moved through Gaul, he fought many tribes. One of the most dangerous battles happened against a tribe called the Nervii. The Nervii launched a surprise attack while Roman soldiers were building their camp. Suddenly thousands of warriors rushed forward, and the Roman army was almost overwhelmed. For a short time, the battle looked like it might be a disaster for Caesar. But Caesar quickly organized his soldiers and helped lead the defense. The Roman legions managed to regroup and fight back. Eventually the Nervii were defeated. After this battle, many tribes began to fear the power of Rome. But the war was far from over. A new leader soon appeared who nearly defeated Caesar. His name was Vercingetorix. Vercingetorix was a young Gallic noble who understood something the other tribes had not realized before. If the tribes kept fighting Caesar one by one, they would always lose. So he convinced many tribes to unite under his leadership. For the first time during the war, a large alliance of Gallic tribes stood together against Rome. Vercingetorix also used a very clever strategy. Instead of fighting the Romans directly in big battles, he ordered his people to destroy their own crops, villages, and food supplies so the Roman army could not use them. This strategy is known as scorched earth. Without food, Caesar's soldiers began to struggle while traveling through Gaul. For the first time, Caesar faced a serious challenge. The most famous battle of the war happened in 52 BC at a place called Alesia. Vercingetorix and his army retreated into a large hilltop city surrounded by strong walls. Caesar and his army surrounded the city, hoping to trap the enemy inside. But Caesar knew that another massive Gallic army would soon arrive to rescue the trapped warriors. So he made one of the most amazing military decisions in ancient history. He ordered his soldiers to build 2 giant defensive walls. The first wall faced the city, trapping Vercingetorix and his army inside. The second wall faced outward to protect the Roman army from the rescue force. This meant the Romans would be fighting enemies both inside and outside their defenses. It was an extremely dangerous situation. Soon, the Gallic rescue army arrived. Thousands of warriors attacked the Roman walls again and again. At the same time, the army trapped inside the city tried to break out. For several days, huge battles took place around the Roman fortifications. But Roman discipline and engineering gave them the advantage. The Roman soldiers held their positions and slowly pushed back the attackers. Eventually, the Gallic rescue army was defeated and forced to retreat. Inside Alesia, the people were starving and had no hope left. Vercingetorix knew the war was lost. According to ancient stories, he rode out of the city on his horse, removed his armor, and placed his weapons at Caesar's feet to surrender. With that moment, the war in Gaul was effectively over. The victory made Caesar incredibly famous. He had conquered a huge region and defeated many powerful tribes. His soldiers respected him deeply after years of fighting together. The war also brought enormous wealth to Caesar through captured treasure and enslaved prisoners. But his growing power created a new problem. Many leaders in Rome became afraid of him. They worried that Caesar had become too powerful and might try to control the entire Roman government. Soon, they ordered him to give up command of his army and return to Rome. But Caesar knew that if he returned without power, his political enemies might destroy him. So he made one of the most famous decisions in history. He crossed a small river called the Rubicon with his army. This action was illegal and meant that Caesar had declared war against the Roman Senate. It started a civil war that would eventually destroy the Roman Republic. But none of that would have happened without the conquest of Gaul. The long war had given Caesar wealth, fame, and an army that trusted him completely. The conquest of Gaul also changed the future of Europe. Roman culture, language, and laws spread across the region for centuries. Cities grew, trade expanded, and the Latin language slowly developed into languages like French, Spanish, and Italian. So when we talk about Julius Caesar conquering Gaul, we are not just talking about one war. We are talking about an event that helped shape the future of an entire continent. Julius Caesar used the war in Gaul to become one of the most powerful men in the ancient world, and his victories changed history forever. But that power also led to fear, betrayal, and one of the most famous assassinations in history. If you enjoyed this story, make sure to like the video and subscribe. And if you want to continue the story, check out the next video where we explore the dramatic moment when Julius Caesar was betrayed in the Roman Senate.